Bill Gaither's name has long been synonymous with gospel music, joyful worship, and an unshakable devotion to sharing faith through song. For generations, audiences around the world have connected his voice with uplifting performances and messages of spiritual hope. Yet, beyond the glow of stage lights and the thunderous applause of devoted fans lies a much deeper, more personal story, one marked not only by triumphs but also by profound struggles and challenges that shaped the man behind the music. Now, as Bill approaches his 90th birthday, many admirers can't help but wonder how he continues to carry himself with such grace, strength, and passion after facing so many obstacles along the way. From an outsider's perspective, his career sparkles with countless awards, sold-out tours, and an unmatched influence within the Christian music world. But beneath that glittering surface lies a layered truth. Bill's life has been filled with immeasurable blessings and deep heartbreak, experiences that mold both his character and his faith. His songs often echo themes of joy, hope, and divine strength, but the reality of his personal journey reveals something far more human. A story of sadness, perseverance, and resilience woven together by unwavering belief. Many would never imagine that someone as celebrated and influential as Bill Gaither had endured so many private trials. Yet his story serves as a powerful reminder that even icons who inspire millions are not immune to pain and suffering. They, too, wrestle with moments of doubt and sorrow behind closed doors. Bill was not born into privilege or fame. His journey began humbly in Alexandria, Indiana, a small Midwestern town where faith, community, and hard work were part of daily life. From a young age, he was drawn to music. The hymns sung in his family's church filled his heart with awe, stirring a dream that someday he might create songs that would lift people's spirits and strengthen their faith. Encouraged by his supportive family, Bill began writing and singing early on, blending his love for God with his growing gift for melody and lyricism. These formative years laid the foundation for what would become a lifelong calling. To him, music wasn't merely entertainment. It was a bridge, a sacred connection that could unite people with each other and with God, offering solace in times of hardship and a renewed sense of purpose in times of doubt. What began as a small-town boy's fascination with church hymns eventually grew into a divine mission. As he matured, Bill came to see that music wasn't just his talent, it was his ministry. Driven by that conviction, he pursued gospel music with passion and dedication. This devotion led to the creation of the Gaither Trio, which included his beloved wife, Gloria, and a circle of close musician friends. Together, they traveled across America, performing in churches, small-town halls, and large community gatherings. Their sound, a perfect blend of traditional gospel roots with heartfelt harmonies, resonated deeply with listeners. People were not only moved by the beauty of their songs but also by the honesty and spiritual sincerity behind them. Bill and Gloria's lyrics reflected the real struggles and triumphs of faith, giving audiences a sense of belonging and understanding. The trio's growing success confirmed that Bill's childhood dream was becoming a reality, though fame was never his true goal. His mission was to serve, to use every note and lyric as a vessel for God's message. This genuine purpose became the heartbeat of his work and the reason fans trusted his music so deeply. By the 1970s, the Gaither Trio had earned a respected place in the Christian music community. Their albums inspired countless believers, and their live performances reignited people's passion for worship. In the 1980s, Bill expanded his vision even further with the launch of the Gaither Homecoming series, a groundbreaking project that brought together gospel legends and rising stars alike. The televised homecoming concerts became household staples, celebrated for their sense of unity, nostalgia, and heartfelt praise. Millions tuned in weekly, not just for the music but for the spirit of fellowship and family these gatherings created. Through these programs, Bill evolved beyond the role of performer. He became a mentor, producer, and guiding light in the gospel world, leading a revival that bridged generations and breathed new life into the Christian music industry. For Bill, the Homecoming series was never about entertainment, it was ministry in motion. His vision managed to preserve the timeless beauty of traditional gospel while giving younger artists a platform to shine. That balance between reverence and renewal became one of the secrets behind the series' enduring success. By the 1990s and early 2000s, Bill Gaither had reached the pinnacle of his career. His name was nearly synonymous with gospel music itself, and his influence extended far beyond church walls. His production company released chart-topping albums, his television specials attracted millions, and his impact on the genre became nothing short of historic. Yet, even in the midst of glory, life behind the scenes was far from effortless. Running such a vast ministry demanded constant travel, endless rehearsals, and tremendous personal sacrifice. While fans saw a cheerful, energetic performer on stage, few realized the exhaustion and pressure he carried privately. The very success that had lifted him to global recognition also came with a heavy cost, a price he was forced to reckon with as he entered his 60s. Years of touring, long recording sessions, and sleepless nights began taking a toll on his health. The energy that once seemed limitless slowly started to wane. For a man whose identity was intertwined with his mission, stepping back was one of the hardest things he had ever done. It was a sobering reminder that even the most devoted servants of faith must eventually face the limits of human endurance. At the same time, the gospel music world around him was changing rapidly. A new generation of artists was emerging, bringing modern styles and production techniques that appealed to younger listeners. Compared to these new trends, Bill's traditional sound sometimes appeared outdated. The shift wasn't just professional, it was deeply emotional. He found himself struggling to reconcile his lifelong devotion to classic gospel with a world moving in a different direction. As audiences evolved and technology reshaped the music industry, Bill's production company began to face financial strain. Ticket sales dwindled, album sales declined, and digital streaming upended the old business model. The grand productions that once defined the Homecoming series became increasingly expensive to sustain. Scaling back became necessary, but in doing so, some of the warmth and grandeur that had made those performances magical seemed to fade. For Bill, this was more than a financial setback, it was a test of faith and purpose. He wasn't just losing business, he was watching decades of his life's work shift before his eyes. Yet even through these trials, his heart remained steadfast. His story, filled with both soaring success and quiet suffering, stands as a timeless reminder that true greatness is not measured by fame or fortune but by faith, humility, and the courage to keep singing, even when the music changes. Bill Gaither's musical style, once considered the very heartbeat of gospel music, gradually began to be seen by some as a relic of another time. While his loyal followers, those who had grown up listening to his songs, remained deeply devoted, younger generations were turning their attention toward newer sounds, fresher rhythms, and modern voices. For Bill, this cultural shift struck a painful chord. He wasn't just another performer. He was one of the architects of the gospel music industry itself. Watching the landscape he helped shape begin to change so drastically left him struggling to adjust. Balancing these professional challenges while also facing personal difficulties made life increasingly heavy. The unrelenting stress began to creep into his marriage with Gloria, the very foundation upon which both his ministry and his music had been built. Whispers started to spread among friends and industry insiders, suggesting that Gloria sometimes felt her husband was too focused on protecting the Gaither business empire and not paying enough attention to his health or family life. Although their bond remained strong, these struggles showed how fame, success, and constant responsibility could weigh even on the most enduring partnerships. Friends and collaborators noticed the toll as well. The once warm, radiant Bill, known for his joyful laughter and easy charm, became quieter, more withdrawn, and often lost in thought. The joy that had always been at the core of his spirit seemed to flicker, replaced at times by exhaustion and reflection. As these personal changes became noticeable, the media's tone toward him also shifted. Reporters who had once celebrated him as an untouchable legend began publishing pieces questioning whether Bill Gaither was still the right person to lead the Gaither empire. For a man who had dedicated his life to spreading faith, hope, and music, these doubts from the outside world were deeply painful. Some fans began to lose confidence, wondering if his best years were behind him. Bill was haunted by one heartbreaking question: how would he ultimately be remembered? Would people think of him as the man whose songs brought joy and comfort to millions? Or would his later struggles overshadow the legacy he had built? Yet even in his most difficult moments, Bill refused to surrender. Instead, he leaned more firmly on his faith, drawing strength from the spiritual foundation that had carried him all his life. As he faced aging, health challenges, and a rapidly changing music industry, he found peace in knowing that his work had already transformed the world of gospel forever. His legacy was unshakable. The songs he wrote decades earlier were still sung in churches everywhere, at weddings, funerals, and Sunday services, continuing to inspire people in prayer and worship. Many of the artists he once mentored were still spreading the message of faith through music, carrying forward the torch he had lit. Though his body slowed as he neared his 90s, Bill's life remained defined by devotion, perseverance, and unshakable belief. His journey stands as a powerful reminder that even in moments of decline or sadness, A life built on purpose and faith continues to radiate light. To his countless fans, Bill Gaither is more than a singer, songwriter, or producer. He represents how music can bring people closer to God, a legacy that cannot be erased by hardship or time. Through every trial, whether it was failing health, financial strain within his company, or the painful realization that fame was fading, his faith never wavered. For Bill, faith wasn't just a message for his songs or something to preach on stage. It was the essence of who he was. Even when declining health forced him to slow down, he found renewed strength in prayer, scripture, and the hymns that had guided him since childhood. Those closest to him often said that Bill's resilience, the quiet determination to keep going even through heartbreak and disappointment, came from his unwavering belief that God was walking beside him through every season of life. When his beloved homecoming specials began to lose momentum and critics grew more skeptical, Bill leaned even harder into his spiritual roots. He reminded himself, and everyone around him, that his music had never been about fame. It had always been about ministry. That realization brought him deep peace, even when outward success seemed to slip away. Rather than seeing his challenges as failure, Bill chose to view them as part of God's greater plan. He believed that even in weakness, he could still be used to uplift others, and in that humility, he inspired millions. Behind the curtain, however, Bill was still shouldering immense responsibilities, coordinating artists, managing his production company, and ensuring that every concert and recording maintained the spirit of excellence his audience expected. The pressure was enormous. As he entered his 60s, the endless travel, rehearsals, and performances began to take a physical toll. Though proud of his tireless work ethic, Bill eventually found that he could no longer maintain the same pace. The grind started to wear down his health, both physically and mentally. As his strength waned, he became more reliant on his team to handle day-to-day operations. But his reduced involvement led to new difficulties. Without his steady leadership, disagreements arose over creative direction and business priorities. Some felt that without Bill's guiding hand, the empire lacked focus, while others quietly wondered whether his decision-making had already begun to falter in his later years. The rise of digital streaming platforms further complicated things, forcing the Gaither brand to adapt to a new musical era. Even through all this, Bill's devoted fanbase stood by him. Across America and beyond, people who had grown up listening to his gospel classics continued to cherish his work. For many, his songs were not just music, they were intertwined with life's most meaningful moments. Churches still sang his hymns, gospel artists continued to name him as their biggest inspiration, and countless fans rewatched his homecoming specials as cherished pieces of history. As he nears 90, the love and admiration Bill Gaither continues to receive prove that his legacy isn't defined by sales figures, business struggles, or industry trends. Instead, it's measured in the lives he touched and the hearts he uplifted through faith and song. The gospel community still honors him as a figure of wisdom and endurance, and younger musicians consistently express gratitude for the doors he opened early in their careers. Though his later years may carry the shadow of age and frailty, the truth of his story is radiant. Bill Gaither's life remains a testament to faith, perseverance, and the timeless power of purpose. His name will forever be etched in the history of gospel music, a shining reminder that while fame may fade, the light of a faithful life never dims. Even now, as the years gently press upon him, Bill Gaither continues to embody the same faith and humility that carried him through decades of triumph and trial. He may no longer stand center stage before massive crowds or lead high-energy tours across the nation, but his presence is still profoundly felt wherever gospel music is played. Those who have worked with him describe a man whose influence extends far beyond his melodies, a man who taught through example that success built on faith, love, and authenticity never truly fades. His legacy thrives not just in the songs that bear his name, but in the people whose lives were forever changed by them. Bill and Gloria, despite their personal struggles, have continued to demonstrate the strength of their partnership. Together, they have faced illness, loss, and the natural challenges of aging with a quiet grace that speaks louder than any performance. Their enduring love story stands as a beacon of resilience, showing that commitment rooted in faith can weather even the fiercest storms. In interviews, both have often reflected on how their shared mission, to bring people closer to God through music, has been their greatest blessing. Even when life's pressures threatened to pull them apart, their devotion to their purpose always brought them back together. Throughout his later years, Bill has also become a mentor to younger generations of gospel artists, many of whom credit him for shaping their paths. He reminds them that the true purpose of music is not fame or applause, but ministry and service. His words, filled with the wisdom of experience, often encourage new artists to stay grounded, humble, and faithful, even as the world around them becomes more focused on fame and commercial success. For Bill, music has always been a form of worship, a way to connect with something divine, to speak to the soul when words fall short. Even as physical strength wanes, his spiritual energy remains powerful. On quiet mornings, those close to him say he can still be found reading scripture, humming old hymns, or jotting down lyrical ideas in notebooks. He may not release albums as frequently as before, but every once in a while, a new song or message from him finds its way into the world, filled with the same gentle wisdom and heartfelt sincerity that defined his earlier work. Fans receive these moments with immense gratitude, knowing that each word carries decades of lived faith and reflection. The world around Bill Gaither has changed drastically. Music trends have evolved, and technology has redefined how songs are shared and experienced. Yet, amidst all that change, his body of work stands firm, timeless, pure, and deeply moving. His hymns are still sung in small country churches and grand cathedrals alike, uniting people across generations and backgrounds. The Gaither brand has become much more than a company. It's a living legacy, a bridge between the past and the present, ensuring that the heart of gospel music continues to beat strong. And while Bill may occasionally reflect on what might have been or what time has taken away, he is also filled with gratitude for all that remains. Every fan letter, every choir performance, every person who says, "Your song changed my life," reinforces the truth that his mission was never in vain. His journey, marked by devotion and resilience, continues to remind people everywhere that the light of faith does not fade with age. It grows warmer, deeper, and more meaningful. In the twilight of his remarkable life, Bill Gaither stands as a living testament to the power of purpose. His story is not simply one of fame or musical success. It is a story of steadfast faith, unconditional love, and the enduring belief that music can heal hearts and bring people closer to God. Though time may slow his steps, his songs still soar, echoing across generations with the same message of hope that first inspired him so many years ago. For millions around the world, Bill Gaither will forever be remembered not only as a pioneer of gospel music, but as a man whose faith never wavered, whose love never faded, and whose purpose never faltered. His voice, once booming from stages and television screens, now resonates quietly in the hearts of those who continue to find strength in his words and melodies. And as long as there are voices to sing his songs and hearts willing to listen, the spirit of Bill Gaither will live on, a shining example of how one person's faith and music can touch eternity.